Hello and welcome back to another episode of Girls Do Sport, the bite-sized guide to women's sport here in Scotland. In each episode, we have focused on several different sports and in many different ways. We have showcased what the sport is about, its key people and what the future holds for the sport here in Scotland. For today's viewing, it's all about boxing. Later on, we'll be speaking to our wonderful studio guest, Demi Murray, an amateur boxer hailing from Irvine Vineborough Boxing Club in Ayrshire, and Daly McRae, UWS lecturer in sport development for the School of Science and Sport, as well as having a look at what our reporters have been up to elsewhere. And you can get involved in the conversation by using the hashtag #GirlsDoSport. So here's an introduction to the world of women's boxing. It was just 21 years ago when a UK-wide boxing ban for women was lifted by the Amateur Boxing Association of England. Since then, its popularity and appeal has risen dramatically, and even more so after the successes of Team GB's boxing team at the 2012 London Olympic Games. But with our neighbour south of the border making rapid progress in both men's and women's boxing since the ban for women has lifted in 1996, Scotland, on the other hand, has lagged behind. However, Boxing Scotland, the governing body for boxing in Scotland, has made up a lot of ground over the past few years, and in their most recent annual report, they have dedicated a whole section to the modern success of women's boxing in this country. Registration has increased significantly, with 189 women signing up as competitive amateur boxers in 2016-17, their highest total ever. That is a whopping 55% increase from the previous year. In addition, Boxing Scotland recorded their highest participation levels at the 2017 GB Elite Championships this year, with 5 women representing Scotland and all 5 of them collecting medals. In order to sustain the growing status of women's boxing here in Scotland, a team of performance coaches from the Lothian-based governing body designed a strategy aimed at further increasing the level of engagement of training and sessions available to women across the nation. But first of all, Irvine Vineborough Boxing Club is a hive of boxing activity for boys and girls in Ayrshire, boasting some already successful young boxers, none more so than in their female department. Our reporter Gary Kirkpatrick visited the club during one of their nightly training sessions to learn more about 2 rising female stars of the game.
Well, Brooke's 12 years old. She's had 6 fights. And she's won 4. She's been coming to the club since she was 9 years old, and she's Scottish novice champion.
I do pads and I punch the bag and I spar a lot.
And it's mostly with the boys, isn't it?
The boys.
Is it kind of rubbish not having many girls around?
No, I like it.
You'd rather have them.
There's wee lassies come in about maybe 9-year-old, 8-year-old, but it's just a wee bit too young to be taken serious. As they get older, we'll probably see more of them. You know, they're just still a bit young. Hopefully next year, Sophie will be boxing next year. She's here 3-4 times a week. So hopefully
dedication
Sophie,
as well.
Oh, aye, definitely, aye.
How many advances has women's boxing made in Scotland generally?
Well,
in
1997, there was 2 lassies from the Barn Boxing Club in Coatbridge. Tried to get a licence to box amateur, and were told to go home and don't be silly. Women don't box. These lassies are about 14, 15 years old, and they were told to go home.
Well, as I touched on earlier, I mean, there's not many female role models in the sport right now.
No.
That's especially in Scotland.
Right, none in Scotland.
Do you think the sport needs to develop and we'll see bigger stars in the future? You know, if it continues to develop, we'll see bigger stars in the future.
Well, hopefully one of them comes out here.
Like I would to, this is a perfect example.
Well, Brooke's been in here since she was 9, she's 12 now. You know what I mean?
And if she keeps at it.
Aye, she's here 5 nights a week. That's a lot.
Dedication.
Aye. But Brooke wants to do the MMA.
That's quite a growing sport.
So I told her what she can do is she can make her name in boxing first and then do the MMA. You know, when she's older. And she's quite happy with that. Aye.
We are now joined by our studio guest, and today we're talking to amateur boxer Demi Murray, who is going to be speaking about his women's fitness class in Irvine Vineborough Boxing Club. So Damien, can you tell us a bit about why you started your boxing fitness class for women?
I started my class because Alec, my coach, he does classes running from 5 to 6 and before 3 to 4. So what I wanted to do was make a class a little bit later. I wanted it just directly to women and girls because there's not much of them in boxing, so I wanted to kind of aim down that route, and that's what made me start the class, going from fitness to self-defence and so on. So I wanted to go down that route.
So why did you want to focus more on the fitness than the elite level?
Because I studied fitness at college. I done my HND last year, so I'm a personal trainer, so I know how important fitness is, not just through physical but mentally. And I done a project on it, and it's kind of, I know like a lot about how mentally it helps and confidence and how it can grow somebody.
And so what have the numbers been like for your class?
Numbers have been quite good. They've been getting better because obviously it's been getting a bit of a name. We've got people coming down from Ardrossan, even people from Kilburnie, Kilmarnock. So it's just shown from coming all the way to Irvine for a class. It's obviously getting good recognition.
And do you think it's kind of difficult to bring women into a sport like boxing?
I think it is to start because, not being sexist, but because like boxing from back in the day was more a male sport, but now it's grown. Like I see it myself now in competing. I see more women competing and taking part in the sport, and so I feel it is grown, but it's just getting bigger and bigger. Hopefully it keeps going.
So what do you see the Scottish landscape of women boxing like just now?
Well, it is getting better. Like years ago, when I was younger, when I competed, maybe when I was like 11, you wouldn't really see much. But now, growing up, maybe it's more senior girls. I just think it's getting more recognition, not just as for girls, but boxing all in, and people are taking more interest in it. And I feel that's maybe why, because like I know I can speak to a lot of girls now, and they know what boxing is. They know like who's fighting, when a fight's coming up. Some even know more than me, so that has grown in all areas.
Yeah. So what do you think can be done now to, alongside initiatives like your own, to boost participation and coverage in the year?
To advertise it more, like well, I done when I was at college, and I was doing voluntary work for active schools and going around to schools and talking, advertising boxing, saying what it's about. Because again, some people may get mixed up and think about boxing just going in, you're fighting, you're throwing punches. It can be quite off-putting to anybody, especially the parents. So I feel like if you go in and kind of advertise it and tell them what it's about, boxing is about discipline and it's about learning self-defence and being more confident. It's not about going in and throwing punches. It's going in to learn how to defend yourself and control it in a rightful manner. So I feel like if myself, people like amateur boxers, professional boxers, people have knowledge in the sport, go around, talk to schools, maybe even have like a little assembly thing, like the parents in, just to kind of let them know what it's about, because a lot of people get the wrong perception of boxing. Because when I'm explaining to them, they go like, I didn't really know that was about that, but it really is. What
could you do maybe to target more to women and girls in those sort of talks?
Just like I was saying, just get them to know what it's about, saying that it's not just a sport. Like, because when I'm doing it, I've got girls who, if they want to compete, they can compete. But I'm talking, it's more like down the fitness route, because boxing is one of the hardest sports to do, because you're using all areas of the body. It's not just your arms, you're using your abs, you're using your legs. It's a lot to it, a lot of training to it. So just kind of telling them what's involved, and it's not like you're going to be put in a ring and attacked, that some people may think. But there's more to it, it's more type of training, and it's more type of way for, more down the fitness route. That's more what I aim for, because that's the kind of classes I'm taking. And Alex kind of doing more competitive. Just letting them know there's two routes you can take. Some people like to compete, but some people may wish to just do it for fitness and look after their body and be healthy.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
No problem.
So it's now time for a bit of fun. So it's time for the 15-second challenge, and over our 9 episodes we're going to see who can fit the most words about their sports into just 15 seconds. And Damien's going to have a shot today. So Damien, if you can look down that camera and in 15 seconds describe your sport and why it's the best.
Boxing's the best because it's fitness related, competitive related, It's got skipping, punching, pad work, a hard work rate, everything you want involved in a fitness class.
And that's your time up. So we're going to have
Sorry.
it's okay. We're going to have the words counted up and added to our leaderboard. And you got 29 words.
There's pressure got to me.
So we're going to add it to the leaderboard, and you can see all the scores from each of our episodes so far on our Scottish Women in Sport social media channels. Next, we're going to meet Billy Denholm, who is a young Scottish amateur boxer who has garnered a reputation for herself on the national and international stage. Our reporter, Gary Kirkpatrick, caught up with her at the Girls Do Sport launch event at the Emirates Arena in Glasgow as she helped represent boxing.
How beneficial do you think this Girls Do Sport project will be in terms of getting more girls into boxing?
It'd be really good because obviously boxing's more a man-dominated sport at the moment, but more girls getting involved every day anyway, so more girls, more fights and bigger tournaments, better achievements for everybody.
And what do you think of the current boxing coverage in this country and its representation in the media right now?
It's quite quiet, dead quiet. There's not much about it at all. It's more guys. Yeah.
For you personally, what were your biggest attractions in getting into boxing?
I like the fitness side. I always thought about doing the fitness before I even started boxing because you're fit, you're healthy, you thought about what you were eating and everything. It was just like that.
Do you worry about health and your welfare in the sport? Because there's been a lot of discussion about headgear, recently. Do you have any opinions on that?
No, not really. I don't even get punched in the face and that. So, the headguard only stops cuts. So even if it was to take away the headguard, I'd like that.
So tell us, how did you get into boxing at the start?
Well, at school I was always fighting and Skyview school I was just awful, I was awfully behaved and the school took me and I went back the next day and then a couple of years later I'm doing it quick.
So they channeled something that was quite negative into something that's
definitely.
Positive, yeah. And how much experience do you have? How many fights do you have?
I think I've had 16, but 60 fights have been for Scotland. My fourth fight was for Scotland. I was at the British and last month I was just back for a tournament in Poland where I fought 3 times and won gold.
How was that experience?
Oh, that was brilliant. It was amazing. We flew over to Poland and it was 21 countries I think it was in it. And I had a quarter, a semi and a final and I fought Poland in the home country for the quarter and semi and I fought a good, really tall Latvian girl.
What motivates you to fight? Because of the limited amount of bouts in Scotland, I've heard that you have to travel to Ireland today.
I did Ireland, Monkstown in July there. It was really good that was my own club though.
So do you get quite frustrated with the fact that there's limited fights?
Well, there's been a few times I've entered in the championships in Scotland and never even got a fight at all, so it's like a downer, but when you think about it, when you're travelling, you're like, this is a big thing I'm going to. You're not getting easy fights when you travel for it, so they're well worth it once you win.
And where do you see yourself, in 5 years' time, in the future generally?
In the future, probably doing this, just doing it like the way I am. I don't like staying amateur, just dawdling along,
it's
taking
all
it as
about
it comes.
enjoying it, isn't it?
Yeah, taking it as it comes. It'll be good fun.
We're now joined by UWS lecturer Dr Ailey McRae, who is going to talk to us about her proposed research project into the development of women's boxing. So Ailey, can you tell us a bit about your proposed research and what you aim to discover?
Yeah, of course. So about a year ago or so, I started talking to Boxing Scotland. A few of my dissertation students, so fourth year students at the university who are studying sport, they had been interested in the subject of women's boxing as boxers themselves and had started looking into the development of the sport, just doing some quite small research projects into it. But what they found in the process of that was that there was very little research in the area. So I then contacted Boxing Scotland, asked them what they were doing in this field, what was happening, and they were really interested in trying to learn a little bit more about what was going on with the women's sport, how to improve it, understand the barriers for those trying to get into the sport, and what strategies could be put in place to try and develop the sport in this kind of way. Now, this was some time ago, and they have been trying to pull together funding to do research, which is not an easy task in the current research climate, in the current funding climate, and any funding that there is for sport tends to get directed in different ways. So we have been trying to pull together some funding, and finally Boxing Scotland have been awarded some funding as part of their development budget, and it is going towards the women's side of the game and to understand more about what can be done to improve it.
How important do you think it is to have this focus on the women's side?
It's really important. There aren't a huge number of women who are involved in the more competitive side of boxing at the moment in Scotland. The numbers are going up. A couple of years ago, it was about 6% of those who were actually involved from a competitive side of things. There are a lot of women who are involved just as registered users of boxing clubs, who are engaging with the clubs themselves, who are engaging with the coaches there, and who are using the facilities, and who are maybe going to things like boxercise classes and things like that, box fit classes, but they aren't competing and they aren't representing their country. So that's the side of things that we want to try and develop and understand what's going on there. There are women who are involved in it, and for them there's been mixed responses of their experiences in it. So we're trying to make sure that the environment can be the best it can be for those women who want to progress in the sport.
So has there been much studies on this topic?
So to date, there hasn't been a huge amount in Scotland. What we have seen more recently is a few more sociological studies and ethnographical studies, which is basically where women speak about their own experiences in the sport. So a couple of boxers, some of them based in Scotland, have written reports and produced some publications about their own experiences of being a boxer and a female boxer in Scotland. One of those was published this year. So we've seen a few things like that, but that's just one person's account. More globally, internationally, there is research out there. There's been some done in Australia and New Zealand, and a little bit in the States, a little bit in the UK, but most of it is quite old now. We're looking at maybe 5, in some cases 10 years old research, and things have changed quite dramatically in the past 10 years in the sphere of women's sport. So from that perspective, there are things out there, but when we're trying to understand how to develop women's sport and boxing in particular today, it's a different world in some ways. So that's what we need to look at more. We need to understand what's actually happening right now and where can we work from that. So that's where the gap is, particularly in Scotland, but I would say the UK more widely as well.
So where do you think women's boxing in Scotland can go?
Wherever the women want to take it, really. The numbers are growing, as you say, and there are women who definitely want to compete within this sport. Now, there's mixed views from the public on women's boxing. For some people on boxing in itself, it is a violent sport, but from the women's side of things, people tend to have, some people have more of an issue with it. So even though that's the case, there are women who love boxing who want to be a part of it. And so we need to make sure that the environment is comfortable enough for them to do that, and it's a good, supportive environment. So I think it can go wherever people want to take it. What we've seen more recently is actually a few people coming into the sport from other sports as adults. So women who are maybe have been involved in other contact sports in some cases, or things like taekwondo, judo, sports like this, but as an adult they've made the decision to shift into boxing, and they've been more and more interested in that sport. So I think we can see gains in the numbers here. There will be development, and we can just wait and see what happens, but I think it's got a long way to go, and it's quite exciting to see where it might go.
How much of an impact do you think the media can have on the development of women's boxing in Scotland?
Well, it's the same with all of women's sport. It's hard to say because we have so many different forms of media today. It would be brilliant to see more coverage of all of women's sport in traditional media, but there are other forms out there, and we know that female athletes in particular are making themselves known through their own social media channels, through Twitter, thousands and thousands of followers that some people in more minority sports actually are able to pull together, and they're controlling their own media destiny in that kind of way. But it's still really important that we have the traditional forms of media behind all of women's sport, and particularly things like boxing. If you think from the professional side of boxing in particular, how much money is involved in that kind of sport, and if that could be then siphoned off and fed into the development of the women's side of the sport, then yeah, we need to have that partnership between media and what's going on at the grassroots level as well. So I think it's really important that we have the media on board here and the traditional forms of media as well, although I think that all sides of the media will be important in the development of women's sport in the next few years.
Thank you very much, Ailey, for coming in to talk to us about your exciting research project. We all hope it's successful in shedding light on the development of women's boxing. That's all we have time for today, but just before we go, we'll let you know how you can get out and about to see some sport for yourself, thanks to our friends at Sport on Spec. At the start of December, Elite Track Cycling comes to Glasgow with the Revolution Series at the Sir Chris Hoy Velodrome. That's the round 2 of the 2017 Champions League Series, and tickets are still available. Into January and get wrapped up warm because spectating is free at the Great Edinburgh Cross Country Athletics, featuring not only men's 8K and a women's 6K. You can also check out the innovative international mixed relay event as national teams of 4 compete for the Stewart Cup. That's just a taste of the sport coming up in Scotland. For more details, check out sportonspec.co.uk.
The beauty of sport is that there is one for every person. You can find the right one for you on a tennis court, a running track, a gym, a football pitch, in a pool or at sea for who is more adventurous. Anyone can do it if they really want to, and for girls it's no different.
Encourage young girls to get into sailing and into sport because it's just wicked fun and we love what we do.
If teamwork is your strong suit, basketball could be your thing. Training with your team might lead you to find friends for life. If your biggest satisfactions come from your own achievement, maybe tennis is what you should give a go, always breaking your own record.
I'm really happy to win the first Tennis Scotland Open Tour. It was a good match today, good few matches over the weekend, and it's pretty cool to win the same tournament as my little brother for the first time.
Variety is what makes sports so appealing, and the message we need to get out to girls all over Scotland is:
if you want to do something, give it a try. If you try lots of things, you will find something you're good at, and then when you do find that thing, just commit to it and give it your best.
Try it all. Try every kind of sport you can think of. Just have 1 or 2 days and see what you like.
Hi, my name is Lynn Calder and I'm a boxer. We are presently at the National High Performance Centre in Glasgow, and I'm going to get some questions.
Why did you start boxing?
When? It must have been about 5 years ago, fully committedly for the last 4 years. I started boxing because I broke my ankle playing rugby and wanted to resume fitness fastest and thought boxing was the way forward to achieve that. I train nearly every day, however I do try to get a rest day or at least a rest morning or a rest evening. Within them days there's a mixture of strength and conditioning, which is with weights, and obviously boxing in itself, technical and tactical, which could be a mix of bags, pads, shadow drills, or even sparring. And in order to keep weight management, I normally need to do, as well as increasing my fitness or keeping a maintenance factor of my fitness, a run, a swim, or a cycle, or a row, or something similar. Each one of them I try to get in every day, apart from obviously my rest day, which changed significantly from when I first began, which would just be attendance at a boxing club on 1 to 2 evenings, maybe 3 evenings per week. And in that boxing session on an evening at the club, it would be a mixture of, say, circuits, which would encompass conditioning with fitness, cardiovascular, and then some boxing. So it would be a mix of all those things that I said to you, like pads, bags, sparring, shadow drills. So a big step in difference from 1 to maybe 3 nights per week to probably 3 times a day apart from my rest.
And what's your goals for the future?
My biggest achievement to date would probably be that, in fact, most definitely will be the first female boxing Scotland medal at an international tournament. That was a bronze medal at Serbia, the Belgrade 55th winners, in April this year. And my goals for the future would be to be selected and represent Scotland as a female at the Commonwealth Games 2018 in Australia. Best advice I've been given would be that of balance. Sometimes I find myself to be that of a perfectionist and largely too determined and independent in myself, so much so I can find myself overtraining, or have in the past, and I even developed a problem with food along the lines of bulimia, where I thought it best to be in control of what I ate during boxing specific periods in order to be a certain weight, but whenever I would have holidays from boxing to training, I'd go mad for food, and it was just so imbalanced that I would rocket like 10 to 12 kilos within the difference of a week, completely unhealthy. Since then I've gained support and advice from people which I've learned and stayed through, and honestly, like, if it wasn't for other people's support, which I advise people to take on, like, you can't work in these environments on yourself, and that of balance. Okay, it's great to train hard, but also it's equally as great to rest.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Girls Do Sport, brought to you by the Scottish Women in Sport and the Sports Journalism students of the University of the West of Scotland. We'd also like to thank our brilliant partners at Brand Oath for making everything look fabulous and sport on spec. Keep the conversation going using the hashtag GirlsDoSport, but for now, thanks for watching.